Well, good morning. And we thought we would either start or reinforce the tradition here at Davos of starting meetings on time. This is a meeting on one of the most pressing and difficult sets of challenges in the world today, which is the challenge of Pakistan and Afghanistan, and helping both countries get on a trajectory in which they are stable, successful societies and countries. And needless to say, there's a gap between where they are and where we would like them to be. The panel this morning is quite extraordinary, and 3/4 of it is here. We have the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Prime Minister Gillani. We have the Defense Minister of Afghanistan, Mr. Wardak. We have the Foreign Minister of Turkey, Ali Babacan. And though you don't see him, word has it, and I am assured in telling you, that we have the Foreign Minister of France, Kouchner. And what we are going to do is not have speeches this morning, which I know will disappoint you all. And instead, we will go directly into questions and a bit of a conversation up here. And then we will save some time for your questions. And I gather, but don't ask me to explain the technology, but we have some Facebook interaction, which will become clear to you at the same time I expect it becomes clear to me. I should just probably quickly introduce myself, since most of you do not know who I am and why you are listening to me. My name is Richard Haass, and I am the President of the Council on Foreign Relations, and I have been asked to preside at this panel. The title of the panel is Pakistan and its Neighbors. So it seems to me fair and fitting that we begin with the Prime Minister of Pakistan. So let me turn to you, sir. And with a simple question, but in some ways a difficult question. There's a widespread view in my country that Pakistan is, while not a failed state, is a state essentially that is failing, where there are tremendous problems of governance, increasing problems economically, and more than anything else, security issues throughout the country, but also particularly in its west. And what concerns so many people is Pakistan's importance, a country of some 170 million people located in a strategic part of the world, tremendous influence on the future of Afghanistan, on India's future, also a country with nuclear weapons, and a country that has become the place where many of the world's most dangerous terrorist organizations have decided to call home. So when people in my country describe Pakistan this way, as a country that seems to be failing or is on the wrong kind of trajectory, is that inaccurate and unfair, or is there something to it from your perspective?
Thank you very much for this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, I wanted to brief you regarding Pakistan's situation, but Mr. Haass has put me in a difficult situation, or asking only one question. Therefore, I'll stick to my question. And saying Pakistan is a failed state, going to be a failed state, it's very unfair, because all the institutions are working under the ambit of the Constitution. The Parliament is working, and the judiciary is working, and the government is working, and the media is free, and even the economic situation is improving, and therefore I think it will be very unfair to say Pakistan is a failed state. Rather, the whole world should concentrate to make Pakistan more stable, because we are in the front line of fighting a war against terrorism. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me follow up. And first, let me also thank you for being so succinct. You just set a record for Davos in an answer to a big question in less than 2 minutes. So no matter what else happens this morning, I want to thank you. if you clearly don't accept the characterization that some people hold. So let me ask you the question a slightly different way. When you wake up in the morning and you look at the challenges that are facing you, what are the challenges that most concern you?
In fact, after the 18th February elections last year, the democratic forces in Pakistan, they won the elections. That is number one indicator that the pro-democracy and progressive parties, they won in Pakistan, and we have formed a broad-based government, both in the center and in the provinces, and there's a coalition government of all the political forces in the country. And interestingly, the troubled areas, the bordering areas of Afghanistan, there are two provinces of Pakistan. One is NWFE, the other is Balochistan provinces. Previously, there were fundamentalists who were running the show or the government in those two provinces. This time, the government which has been formed is progressive parties, and one is of the Awami National Party with the coalition of the Pakistan People's Party, that's my party, and on the other is the Balochistan, is purely our People's Party government. Therefore, they are having excellent relations across the border with President Karzai's government, and we are having excellent relations with Afghanistan. We had a tripartite conference with Afghanistan, and we had a smaller jirga with Afghanistan, and there is a greater cooperation between the two countries. And even I had the opportunity of meeting Mr. Karzai several times, and even in Turkey, our friends, the Prime Minister of Turkey, he organized a meeting of a bilateral and the tripartite meeting in Istanbul. And later the president also visited, and they had the tripartite meeting. It is in the interest of the whole world, the stable Afghanistan and Pakistan. Therefore, according to the suggestion of the conference, we held a smaller jirga, and that was very, very successful. And I think that's the way forward. Because army action is not the only solution. We have to have a new strategy, because even in United States and even in Pakistan, the people, they have voted for a change, and the change should be visible. What type of a change do they want? My government policy is very, very clear, and my challenges are extreme. They are also very clear. That is number one. That's the change which I was hinting on. That is, I have a 3 Ds policies in Pakistan. That is, number one is a dialogue. The dialogue means the political dialogue with non-militants, those who denounce terrorism, those who throw their arms, and according to the rawaj and the traditions of our culture of Fatah, or the northern areas, or the other areas of Pakistan, they go to the political agent and surrender. And then number two is the development. That is the core issue. The world should understand that to fight against terrorism, you have to go to find out the root cause of terrorism. The root cause of terrorism is the poverty, illiteracy, unemployment, non-development. These are the areas where we have to do much more. When I recently met Vice President Mr. Biden, when he came to Pakistan, we had a lot of discussion with him, and we requested him that they expedite the issue of Biden Luga bill. Now is a Kerry Luga bill, so that there should be more development and the ROZs in those areas in Afghanistan and in Pakistan, so that we should do the root cause, to eliminate the root cause. And the 3 Ds is the deterrence. Of course, when there is a writ of the government is challenged, then we have to have action against them, and there's an army action. And one thing I must tell you very clearly, without the support of the people, without the support of the masses, you can't win a war. Because to win a war, you have to win the hearts of the people. And to win the hearts of the people, that you have to do something for the people of that area. Therefore, my number 3 strategy is deterrence, and we only do it at a time when, and at the same time, I once through you also request my other colleagues and friends in the United States as well, that my policy is to isolate the tribes from the militants. And that is my policy. And that is what my army is doing. That's the operational side. They are separating the militants from the local tribes. And because of that, we are very successful, and people, they have started raising the Lashkars, the indigenous sort of a support. As I mentioned, without the support of the masses, you can't win a war. They are now supporting the army action against the militants. When there is a one drone attack, that unites them again. They unite the tribes and the militants together. The sympathies are created for them, and this thing is counterproductive for Pakistan and for the Pakistan military operational side.
Thank you.
But I have yet to say my challenges.
We'll have to hold off, but they'll probably still be there in a few minutes. Let me turn to the defense minister of Afghanistan, someone who's been involved centrally in his country really for several decades now, who I've known over the years. Let me ask you, in a sense, the same question. It makes it easy to be the moderator here. People in the United States, interestingly enough, see Iraq as finally moving in a positive direction, but they're very concerned about the developments in Afghanistan. And I think the consensus view is that 6 or 7 years now after the ouster of the Taliban, Afghanistan is not where anybody wants it to be. And indeed, some of the recent trends are extremely worrying. Is that fair, or is that too negative?
It will be slightly negative because the narrative of our successes since liberation in 2001, then the emergency law jirga, the constitutional law jirga, the parliamentary election, the presidential election, and all what have been accomplished have been interrupted by the surge of violence, especially in 2008. And actually, because of the amount of the destructions which our country have received and 3 decades, and because of that we were not able to provide security, we were not able to make difference in the life of our people. And that is what has been exploited. Moreover, the media has concentrated morely on the negative. There has been so much achievement which have been as a result of our information campaign failure and also the international community. It has been not exposed to the rest of the world. We have started from a very basic baseline, and a lot have been accomplished, and I really don't want to take all that what have happened in Afghanistan. I can go through a long list of achievements. But we have started with the institution building which it has never existed. And I am quite sure and optimistic that we can contain the threat, and we can strengthen the government, and we can improve the security situation, and we can win this war eminently.
Let me ask you then a question. Right now there's roughly 60,000 U.S. and NATO troops in your country. And in the United States, there's a major review of Afghan policy that's just been initiated by the new administration. And one of the likely results of that is a call for increasing the American troop presence in Afghanistan. Is that something you would welcome?
Actually, so the type of warfare which we are engaged in, it is a power intensive, because we have to look after a variety of orders and security. We have to be able to protect the population. We have to be able to create safe area, then extended it. We have to be able to isolate, as Excellency the Prime Minister said, isolate the terrorists from the people. We have to deny them the sanctuaries. We have to diversify our own national security forces, and we have to secure our borders and defend key installations. So from the beginning, the international community have anticipated the threat very low. And then the whole structure of the Afghan security institutions and the rest of the government were built on that assumption, which have proven to be very wrong. So now there is a big disproportion between the area which has to be secured and the number of population which has to be protected. In Iraq, the tides were turned when the Iraqi armies and the rest of the security forces went up to 600,000 plus minus, in addition to almost 200,000 other forces. Afghanistan is 90,000 square miles bigger than Iraq. Afghanistan has 4, 5, 6 million more population. The area is not flat. It is the most rugged terrain in the world. So how do you expect that with an army which was assumed to be 70,000 and with the weapons which were collected and were used for 30 years, I mean, we could have secured this country. So I think there is a need for a qualitative and quantitative improvement of the Afghan national security forces, and for the time to build that force, I think there is a gap which has to be breached, and for that there will be a requirement for temporary augmentation of international forces. But all these years, I have been saying this, that equipping and training the Afghan national security forces is 60 to 70 times more cheaper than the deployment of the large formation of international forces. It's politically less complex, and it is saving lives for our friends and allies. I mean, throughout the history, it was our only pride that we have defended that country against all the odds. And now, I mean, international forces are coming, boys and girls from so far away, I mean, to defend us. I think we are ashamed of that. So the best way is to enable the Afghan themselves. And the final solution has to be an Afghan solution.
But just so people understand, let me welcome the Foreign Minister of France, but just to make sure we understand then, that while you believe the ultimate and preferred approach is to build up the capacities of Afghan police and army forces, as an interim approach, we probably do need to increase external forces.
Yeah, there is a breach, a gap to be breached.
Okay.
And there is a requirement.
Thank you. Thanks. Let me turn to Ali Babacan, because as the Prime Minister of Pakistan pointed out, Turkey has been playing an important role at trying to increase the cooperation and coordination between the countries represented by the two gentlemen who are flanking me this morning. So how's it going there?
Well, actually Pakistan and Afghanistan, two countries with which we have excellent relations, two great friends, I would say, and there is a lot of history, culture into this strong bonds, I would say, between Turkey and Afghanistan and Turkey and Pakistan. And the challenges, probably economy and security are the two important challenges that we have to confront with. And when we talk about security, the security situation in Afghanistan and security situation in Pakistan is very much interlinked. It is very difficult to evaluate this independently, I would say. Especially the fact that the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan is a very rough area where there's a tribal social structure over there. It makes also the fight against extremism and terrorism a difficult one. It was actually 2 years ago when we hosted both President Musharraf and President Karzai in Istanbul. That was the very first trilateral summit which we had. And back then, the relations were quite tense between the two countries, I would say. And that started the process. That started the medium of dialogue, I would say, between two countries, which turned into, right now, I would say, a good level of cooperation. And the second such summit we hosted just recently again, this time President Zardari came from Pakistan, and we had a successful summit with concrete results. How to enhance cooperation, especially on the military side between the two countries, because there is the one common enemy, and how to cooperate against this common enemy rather than making this subject an area of confrontation between these two countries. How to cope with the problems is a different issue. I would commend actually Pakistan to have democracy as its probably most important strength. That's a big asset for Pakistan, and a lot of things can be built on that strong base of a democratic system. And how to strengthen democracy and how to actually cope with the economic problems, how the global economic crisis will reflect to Pakistan, will reflect to Afghanistan, and how we can, in a way, ease the situation as the international community. And there is already an initiation called Friends of Democratic Pakistan, which we had the first meeting in New York. The second meeting took place in Dubai, actually, recently. Turkey is a part, many other countries is a part of that initiative, and we are working on that. For Afghanistan, when we deal with the security issue, it is very difficult to solve the problems only by more soldiers and by more money. And the recent years have proved that military solution alone, or military instruments alone, I should say, is not a way out for Afghanistan. So there has to be many soft elements. How to convince the people, how to convince people that so that they don't support extremists, they don't support terrorists, and how to improve their daily lives. If only a percentage of the money that was spent for Afghanistan for security purposes was actually spent for development, for humanitarian purposes, the outcome could have been very different. And as the Defense Minister of Afghanistan has already pointed out, what has changed in the daily lives of the people of Afghanistan? Not really much all throughout this time. And on one hand, they see that they don't have good roads, they see that the healthcare service is problematic, education system is very problematic, and there are many troops, foreign troops in a way, on their country, but then there is not much improvement. So how to win the people of the country, and how to also create more ownership in Afghanistan. Ownership in terms of the government actually feeling in charge of the things, being in control of the things. So more cooperation and more dialogue between Pakistan and Afghanistan is a must. I'm sure we will come to probably another neighbor, which is India, but probably there will be a second round, I suppose.
Mr. Minister, welcome. You didn't keep us waiting.
Sorry, anyway.
We began without you.
For the next time.
But while you were gone, I began with questions to both the Prime Minister of Pakistan and the Defense Minister of Afghanistan, and essentially said are the largely negative perceptions of developments in their country that are quite widespread in the United States, are those too critical? And perhaps not surprisingly, both of them said, yes, they're too critical. What is France's view of the situation in this part of the world? When your analysts look at it, how concerned are you?
It was yesterday in the Parliament, and it was very critical, more than critical. This is difficult to explain to the people if they don't really know the two countries and what is going on in Afghanistan. This is difficult to explain them, and since years and years. First, 30 years of war. And I remember the first, again, the Soviet Union in that time. So I don't want to be very long. We have to explain to the people that first we are fighting against terrorism. Yes, we are fighting against terrorism, mainly in Afghanistan because our people are involved, our soldiers, but also helping Afghanistan to be a bit more confident. For that, we must secure, that is to say, with soldiers to secure to access to the people in order to offer them to take their destiny, their future in charge. All the projects, not only the military project at all, but all the civilian projects must be offered to the Afghan people. This is easy to say, very difficult to do. And we have some example. Then going to Pakistan, of course, there is a double misunderstanding because of the border, because of the tribal zone, but we have a huge hope with the coming of the new government, with the coming of the new president and the new government. And the relationship in between Afghanistan and Pakistan are getting better. This is difficult because also because of the drug problem, because of the poorness of the people, the misery of the people. So it will take years and years in addition, even if we're getting better now. But we must explain why. This is not just for our, let's say, dream of military success. There is no military solution, unique military solution in Afghanistan. But there is certainly a way to give some confidence to the people. This is the key. And in 2 words, this is another time very easy to say. I know the country since 25 years. I've been involved as a doctor. This is a good example. You remember that. And look at some project, not only in education, healthcare, liberation of the women. We are making progress there. But it must be said, and it must be understood. It is not at all. So this is not only a military involvement. We certainly need to train the people, to offer to our Afghan friend to get a better army, and we are making progress there also in the army, etc., etc. But the good example is the French hospital in Kabul. Please visit it. The staff is Afghan. Of course, the patients are Afghan. The doctors are Afghan. And you can enter easily. And considering the all people of Afghanistan, including certainly some Taliban. But this is the way. This is the way. Giving the responsibility to the Afghans. This is our goal.
You say that there's no military solution, and there's consensus on that. But the experience, and you have even more than I do by far, in all these conflicts, is that while there's not a military solution, without stability and security, there's no solution. One of the things, Mr. Obama, you spoke about the new president and the new government. There's also one in my country. Yes. One of the things, again, I think is quite likely that they are going to not simply call upon greater American military investment, as the defense minister suggested, for a bridging period, but the United States is probably going to look to some of its European allies to increase their contributions. What is your sense of how France and Europe will respond to such a call?
Well, for the time being, the response is no, not for the moment. We just increased the number of our soldiers. And yesterday in the parliament, I told my people that there is no perspective of sending more troops for the time being, and it has not been asked. But look, talking about President Obama is talking about hope, a new story, a new involvement, a human involvement more than a military involvement. And as my good friend Richard Holbrooke is in charge, we'll be together, better to be 2 than 1, to get this open access to the people in supporting our friends. Because the difference between 20 years ago, when they were, all of them, or part of them, fighting against Soviet invasion, is that now we have a huge part of the population and the government which are very favorable to democracy. This is not the Western democracy exactly. Don't hope for a Western democracy image. But we are working with our friends and all of us going forward to, let's say, a new real involvement of the people, with benefit for them, for their family, for their children, for the future. And this is not so easy to perceive for the time being.
Thank you. Let me stay on Afghanistan for one more minute and turn to the defense minister, and then I want to get back to the prime minister of Pakistan. Is there a diplomatic dimension to this that we really haven't discussed? And by that I mean, when does the time come, or maybe it's come already, for a diplomatic effort to persuade the Taliban to put down their arms and to essentially join the political process? Is that a pipe dream given their ideology, or is that a realistic future where at least some of the Taliban or groups like it can be persuaded to work peacefully and politically for their agenda?
I think for all these years, the Afghan government has a program for reconciliation with those Taliban which they accept the Afghan constitution and they come back to their homes, and then if they want to get into power, to participate in the political process which now democracy will provide them. But unfortunately, in the main cases, we think that our own Taliban don't have the freedom of action which they required to do so. I mean, they have been directed by some extremists and also Al-Qaeda, which will not allow them to do so. But still there are some elements of Taliban which, with a better program, with better management of the reconciliation program, there is a possibility, to bring them over, a big chunk of them. But some there are the ones which have been totally indoctrinated, or they are in the services of Al-Qaeda or other foreign intelligence services, and that will be really difficult. We are trying all the different approaches. The way it was mentioned, that we are not going to succeed with military operation, but unfortunately, all the programs in Afghanistan have been underfunded. There have been not sufficient forces to clear and then hold, and then have the opportunity to build. So because of that, we have not met not only the expectation of the Afghan people, which they have been very impatient because of 3 decades of suffering and miseries and a horrible life, but also the expectation of the international community that they wanted us to come up within 7 years and improve everything. And also jointly, we and the international community, we have made decisions which were not correct from the beginning. And there are shortcomings in the part of the Afghan government also, but I do believe that the lasting peace eventually will come up with a vibrant economy, political participation, and the restored hopes.
Inshallah. Prime Minister, the United States is clearly undertaking regular, if you want to call them, periodic military operations inside your country. What is your reaction? On balance, do you believe that is making the situation better, or is it causing more political problems than it is solving?
In fact, I have also heard the point of view of the French foreign minister. He was not with the audience previously when we gave our point of view. Now the sense of all of us is that military action is not the only solution. And democracy, as I have mentioned earlier, is the greatest dividends. And because we have to carry the people of our country with us, and I'm the only Prime Minister in the country who has been unanimously elected Prime Minister of Pakistan. And when we took on national security, both the houses into confidence, the whole nation stood with us, and all the political forces across the board, whether they are with us or they are against us, and even within the house, they all supported us for the national security. Therefore, I think, as I mentioned earlier, that would be counterproductive, and military action will not be the solution.
Again, but I think I'm trying to get more specific. I think there's an agreement that military action can rarely be the solution. The question is, though, it's got to be part of the solution. And in this case, whether American military actions in Western Pakistan, they won't solve the problem, but without them, doesn't the problem get worse?
In fact, I have mentioned earlier that we have to win the hearts of the people, and to win the hearts of the people, you have to do practically for them some development in those areas, because the NATO forces, which is fighting a war on terrorism in Afghanistan, the combined NATO forces together, their casualties and their injuries are much less than the casualties and the injuries took place in Pakistan. And thousands of soldiers, they have been killed, and thousands of people, they have been even injured. We have paid a heavy price for the war on terrorism, and our economy has also suffered a lot. And I can explain you in one word that with a one suicidal bomb attack in Pakistan, there is a flight of capital and there is no investment in Pakistan. Therefore, we are suffering a lot, and the focus should be not we are asking for any sort of aid, we are asking for a trade. We want the market access so that our people should have the better livelihood. There should be more facilities for health, education, and development and job opportunities. And if these are provided to them, that the people, you can win the hearts of the people. And especially in Afghanistan, as the minister has rightly mentioned, that the people should be involved in a process, that they should feel that they are the part of the government. Therefore, they should all be involved, and therefore I think President Obama has rightly appointed Richard Holbrooke for this as envoy to India and Pakistan. We welcome his appointment. So this is a regional sort of issue, and it should be solved regionally, and therefore we are the relevant people sitting over here.
Just so I want to make sure I didn't misunderstand you. You would welcome an American envoy getting involved in Indo-Pakistani relations in addition to Pakistani-Afghan issues?
In fact, which I heard earlier, it was because it's a regional sort of a issue. Therefore, we all take it as India is also involved.
Interesting. Ali, in the case of both Afghanistan and Pakistan, by the way, this will be the last question I'm going to ask, and then I want to open it up. You have two, if you will, Islamic countries that are struggling with democracy and governance. Turkey has obviously gone through its own experiences. What is it that you've learned and experienced in Turkey that you think might be useful for these two countries?
Mm-hmm. Well, for Afghanistan, I think the year of 2009 is going to be an important year because there are elections coming up. And it is going to be very important to make these elections participated by wide segments of the Afghan society. And now we are actually working hard, talking with many groups in Afghanistan and just encouraging them to get into the political system and to go to the ballot box to express their will. So this year is going to be an important test year for Afghanistan, and we are already contributing. Deepening of the democracy is going to be an essential part of the solution and ultimate solution for Afghanistan. But also, I think the humanitarian work, development work is also very, very important. And as Turkey, we have been also doing a lot in Afghanistan. For example, we have been opening schools for girls because we believe that it's very important in the family to have an educated mother. And also women more getting into the social and business circles. When I was in Afghanistan 3 months ago, I did the opening ceremony of a new girls' school, a school only for girls. And then 2 days later, it was hit by 2 rockets by Taliban. It was in the north. Luckily, no injuries. But then we increased the security around the school, and we told them, okay, we guarantee you continue your education. Also, healthcare. We have been opening more than 10 hospitals so far in Afghanistan. We have finished the construction of more than 50 schools in Afghanistan. We have a military base in Kabul, 800 soldiers, and within that military base, there is a healthcare center which is open to civilians. So the doors are open, the civilians can get into the military base, to the healthcare center. Every day around 100 to 150 patients receive treatment. So this soft aspects, I would say, is extremely important. And also, we talked about the security issues. I want to just spend just 1 minute about this third parties military operations. I believe that this is very distortive. Distortive. It's distorting the image. Yes. Especially when these military operations are done without coordinating with the governments. It just helps terrorists, and it doesn't serve any good purpose. Now, stability of Pakistan is very important for the whole region. It is important for Pakistan, of course, itself, but for the whole region, it's very, very important. So I think, as the international community, we should all help in a way and make sure that the relations between India and Pakistan evolve in the right direction. No confrontation, but cooperation, solidarity against terrorists, against extremism should be the key. And without making this possible, no country alone can fight against terrorists, can fight against extremism. So not only the countries in the region should work together, but also as the international community, we should also collaborate. Otherwise, we see risks, although we have to, of course, keep our good mood and good approach. But again, this year will be very, very crucial to make sure that things revolve in the right direction in that region.
Can I just follow up on that last point? Yeah. Does Turkey favor the creation of some sort of formal or standing working group? We used to have the so-called 6+2 to deal with Afghanistan. Should there be some new grouping that would deal with either Afghanistan or Afghanistan-Pakistan that would involve the neighboring countries, the United States, Europe, and others? Mm-hmm. Is that something you would favor?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the fact that now the new administration appointed a special representative for Afghanistan and Pakistan together is a step in the right direction, because, as I said, the security situation is very much interlinked. So we have to look at the bigger picture to deal with this. And definitely a refreshed approach to these issues, and maybe a new formation could definitely help with the new realities on the ground.
No, just to say that we tried to, and we succeeded, in having a conference in Paris 2 days with Afghan neighbors, all together. But the Iranian, sorry for them, they accepted, they were supposed to come, and the very morning of the conference, they did not appear. But all of them, and it was very constructive, of course, and it was just after Mumbai attempt. It was not easy in between our Pakistani friend and the Indian friends, but it was absolutely fantastic to see that all the neighborhood countries, they were talking with the same words against terrorism. And so this is partly a direction for, let's say, the coming peace. To talk with the surrounding, because they are more or less involved at a very low level sometimes, just to fight against the smuggling of drugs, just to fight against, and on the water system, and on trade, and of going through Afghanistan is a huge problem for the Pakistanis or for the others. Only crossing the border is a problem. So having this sort of regional perspective is part of the beginning of something.
We've got about 15 minutes left, give or take, so let me open it up. And I don't know if there are microphones. Yes, sir. Just introduce yourself, and please keep your questions as short as you can, and we'll do our best to keep our answers as short as we can.
My name is Adi Godrej from India, and my question is to Prime Minister Gillani. During the periods in Pakistan where there's been a democratically elected government, the feeling is that the democratically elected government does not have the full control over the Pakistan army. I would like your comments on that. And there's an added question I'd like to just limit it to one, because there's so many hands that are up in the room, but thank you.
In fact, they have mentioned about the democratic governments. During the democratic government's rule, there is a less control over the army. But one thing I assure you, that there is a total cohesion and there is a total unanimity of views between the army, the intelligence agencies, and the civil government. And there is no such variations as far as Pakistan is concerned.
Clear answer. Yes, sir. I see here in the second row. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have to scoot around with the microphone?
I'm Ken Roth from Human Rights Watch. My question is to the Afghan Defense Minister. I think there's a broad consensus that the problem of the Taliban is not simply a military one, and that the Turkish foreign minister talked about the importance of development assistance. But Human Rights Watch researchers on the ground talk about other reasons why the Taliban is advancing, and that has to do with disillusionment with the government, particularly with corruption and the lack of good governance, the lack of responsiveness to the needs of the Afghan people, and second, a certain coziness with warlords, an unwillingness to apply the rule of law to people who happen to be allied with the government. Do you share that analysis, and if so, what is the government doing to try to redress it?
Corruption and warlordism. Over to you.
Yes. Now, actually, nobody can deny that there is corruption, but we are trying very hard since the Paris conference to come up with mechanism to counter corruption with all ways and means. There has been a special department created for it. There is a special court, and so far 300-400 people have been arrested because of the corruption. In the meantime, I really want to say something else. I don't want to defend corruption, but I would like to say that out of the total aid which has come to Afghanistan, which it is 30-some billions, only a small portion of this aid have been given to the Afghan government. The rest has been all used by the NGOs or the donor communities. And which in that case, in a lot of cases, something which we can build, for example, based on the exact quotation Prime Education Minister, a classroom which we built, if we built it, it will cost us $10,000. If it is built by the international community, it will cost $30,000. I have experienced personally myself the difference that how a lot of money out of $1 or €1, only 30 or 25% of the aid is coming to Afghanistan. And actually, it's implemented on the ground. The rest is disappear between, oversight, what they call it, overcost and overhead costs in contracting and subcontracting. So I will say that, and also something else I really want to say that is also, there are values and virtues in the human rights and other fields which the civilized world have achieved as a result of 200-300 years of struggle. And why should you expect us that in 7 years we will meet all those requirements. Do you expect miracles from us? Which is not possible. We have started from a very below zero line about 7 years ago. But we are trying very hard. We are trying very hard to improve the governance. There has been a move for this, I think, in the last 4 or 5 months, about 16, 17 governors have been out of total 34 have been changed. And the warlords, they don't enjoy the power which they have enjoyed in 2001, and 2, and 3. I mean, so the power of the warlords are diminishing as the government institutions are getting stronger and stronger. And one of these institutions is the Afghan National Army, which has been a potent symbol of reform and also the physical manifestation of new Afghanistan, and also illustrating our continuing transformation toward a nation which would like to take the responsibility once again for its own destiny. So as I said from the beginning, that there are shortcomings. There are room for improvements, no doubt about it. We could have done better. But right now, I think we are in the right moment of time. In the past 7 years, a lot of mistakes have been made jointly by us and the international community. We have learned a lot of lessons, but with considering those lessons, I think we will be able, to ensure the inevitability of our joint final victory to deliver Afghanistan from years of destruction, civil war, and tyranny. And one other thing I really wanted to add, which is not connected to the subject, is that we are very fortunate that with the success of democracy in Pakistan, there is a government which enjoyed the most cordial and sincere relations with Afghanistan. So if the key to success against the terrorism is regional and global cooperation, I think the environment is very susceptible. And we will do everything from the Afghan side to exploit and utilize this opportunity, which have risen as a result of the victory of democracy in Pakistan. We enjoy the best relations, and we hope that there will be a lot of cross-border cooperation. And do I have time? Or?
Actually, I'm going to ask you to hold off. Okay. Let me just make one administrative announcement before I keep calling on other people. Just as you know, at 11:30, former President Clinton is having a session. It's full. There's no. That's the bad news. The good news is you don't need to move. And as soon as we're done with this session here, you'll be able to watch it on the screen from a comfortable seat. So for those of you who are thinking of scurrying away, I can now promise you a seat as well as the last few minutes of this session. So think of it as a win-win situation. We got time for a few more quick questions and a few. Yes, ma'am. And I think yes. Just wait for the microphone and quickly identify yourself and let us know who you are.
My name is Meera Kareem. I'm from Pakistan, and I'm representing the British Council's Global Changemakers. We're 6 young people who are representing the different nations that we come from. My question is to the Pakistani Prime Minister. Do you feel continued militarization of the NWFP and Fatah and having these kind of military strikes is the solution to ending terrorism, or do you feel dialogue can actually work in this case? Thank you.
I have already given the answer to this question, that I don't think that the military action is the only solution for the problems. I have given the three-pronged policy, that is the political dialogue, development, and the deterrence. Therefore, certainly there is a military action in those areas, and the moment the things will normalize, we'll withdraw the troops. I'll visit myself, and I assure you that Pakistan military they have the ability to control the situation, and I want to apprise the House that we have the ability, we have the will to combat terrorism, but there is a shortfall of the capacity. Capacity means not the army, the capacity means the frontier corps, the frontier constabulary, and the local police, so that when things are normalized in certain areas, then we should have the capacity to control the situation through the local police. And that should be enhanced so that we are fighting with the terrorists who have got the most sophisticated weapons in the world. And our people, they are without guns. How can they fight with them? Therefore, I will urge the world to build up the capacity of the law enforcement agencies of Pakistan. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sabina Puri, resident of Mumbai. And my question is to Prime Minister Gillani. What are you doing to make sure that Pakistan is not used as a base for terrorist attacks in India?
In fact, the question you have asked, in fact, we were maintaining excellent relations with both our neighbors as far as Afghanistan is concerned and as far as India is concerned. We had a lot of interactions between the leadership of India and the leadership of Pakistan. I met Dr. Manmohan Singh several times in various summits and on the sidelines, and we wanted to solve all the outstanding issues, including the issue of Kashmir. But this one incident, we were creating CBMs, confidence building measures, and we were very close to each other. But this incident of Mumbai, which it's extremely unfortunate, we condemn terrorism, whether it is in Mumbai or it's in Islamabad or in Karachi. Therefore, we were deeply grieved over this tragic incident. And I talked to Dr. Manmohan Singh immediately after this incident and extended full intelligence cooperation. And today, whatever the dossier or the information has been provided by the government of India, I have already constituted a high-power committee in the Ministry of Interior, and we are probing into the incident. And I show you and I show the House that I will never, ever allow my soil, the Pakistani soil, to be used against terrorism. And whatever the findings will be from that inquiry, we will provide it to India and to the whole world. And I'm sorry for that incident. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Tim Hanstead. I'm with RDI, a nonprofit organization in Seattle. And my question is for the Honorable Prime Minister. You pointed to poverty as the root cause of terrorism. And the data shows that poverty is closely linked to rural landlessness and the inegalitarian structure of land ownership in your country. So my question is, does your government have any plans to increase land access for Pakistan's poorest families?
In fact, when there was globally the oil prices went up and the food commodities were also went very high, then we had to have an alternate and we had to diversify our economy, and we are concentrating on agriculture. And you have rightly mentioned that about more than 70% of our people, they are depending on agriculture, and we are doing a lot for the agricultural class. But as far as the land reforms are concerned, at the moment we are not considering at the moment, but at the same time we are giving a lot of incentives in the power generation because of electricity being given to the farmers, and building up new dams. And of course, the coal and the minerals and the power sector, we're giving a lot of incentives. And I hope we are building up those areas. But as far as these troubled areas are concerned, where the war is going on, the people, they expect more like development in health, education, in job opportunities. And I want to give one example, if you allow me, only one example. There was a poppy growing in Pakistan a lot during 20 years back, but when we gave an alternate crops, then the poppy gone. There's no poppy growing in Pakistan now at the moment. That means you have to do something, give alternate to the people. Therefore, people are expecting alternate. Thank you.
We could go on because I don't think we've solved all the problems of Afghanistan and Pakistan this morning. But if we begin on time, we have to end on time. Also, the program with President Clinton is about to start, so I'm told, so that will be coming over the screens. Let me just thank the four gentlemen who flanked me, the two foreign ministers of Turkey and France, the defense minister of Afghanistan, and last but far from least, the prime minister of Pakistan. And thank you all for your interest in the subject. Thank you.